Hi friends, in my first job as a risk analyst, these two terms, trades and positions, were amongst the first concepts I learned at work. The definition is slightly different from what we have learned in theory, at least what I had learned in theory. And it took me multiple conversations with fellow colleagues and experts in the area to finally grasp what these actually meant. With the help of this video, I hope I make your life easier and you get a fair understanding of what these terms mean in an investment banking, risk and finance field, and I hope you find this useful. These are the things I will cover today. First, we will look at pre-trade, the two models within pre-trade, request for quote and the order model. Next, we'll understand the different types of trades, cash, exchange traded, or over the counter. We will then see the definition of a position and finally understand the difference between trades and positions and why as analysts you might find them being used interchangeably in your workplace. Let us first look at the RFQ model within pre-trade. Here the customer proposes a quote for a single product or a basket of products to the dealer. The dealer can then do one of three things: accept the quote as is, reject the quote, or propose an alternate quote. Once the customer and dealer have mutually agreed on the quote, this deal can then move through and we can move from the pre-trade to the trade stage. RFQ model is predominantly used for equity transactions. Next, let us look at the order model. Here the customer places an order with the bank or fund, which then goes on to execute it either partially or fully. There are different types of orders, but let us look at the two main types. The first one is the market order. An easy way to remember this: market order is market price, limit order is limited by price. Let me explain. In the market order, the customer only mentions the quantity he or she wishes to buy or sell. They don't mention any price. So the dealer and broker can carry out this transaction until all the quantity is achieved at any given market price. The exact opposite is true for the limit order. In this case, the customer mentions at what price they are willing to buy or sell. So the dealer or broker is limited by that price. Now that we have understood pre-trade, let us look at the types of trades. There are three main types we must understand. The first is the cash trades. As the name suggests, these are securities in exchange for which you must pay up cash. These are typically stocks and bonds. These trades come under the category of cash trade. Second are the exchange traded derivatives. The nomenclature for this is also quite self-explanatory. You will have exchanges all across the world. You have the Nasdaq in US, you have the National Stock Exchange in India, and so on. Securities which are traded in these exchange, and more specifically derivatives, are called exchange traded derivatives. These include options, futures, and so on. Lastly, let us look at the final category, which is the over-the-counter trades, also known as OTC trades. Again, as the name suggests, there is no central clearing party over here. These are not traded on exchanges, and these are typically derivatives. Good examples here are interest rate swaps, FX swaps, which banks typically do with each other and don't go via exchange. Now that we have understood the different types of trades, it's also important from a data point of view to see the data implications. There will be several cases wherein the customer has a quote, the bank and the customer could not finally agree on that quote and move towards a trade. So the pre-trade volume will always be larger than the trades. Let us look at the mapping between orders and executions and trades. Like I told you, one large order might not be executed in a single go. It might be broken up into parts and executed. It might be partially executed at times. And then there will be trades which are catering to those partial executions. Now, let me take a very simple example. You want to buy 20 stocks of Apple. In this case, the order quantity is small. 20 stocks may be executed in one go. You find a seller who wants to sell 20 stocks. So therefore, there's one execution. And then there's one trade. Let us look at another example. Now you want to buy 1,000 stocks of Apple. And here, the orders quantity being large, will be partially executed multiple times. So you find one seller who wants to sell 100 stocks. One order, first execution, first trade. Next, you find another seller who wants to sell 200 stocks. So the same order which you placed is having a second execution and a second trade being placed. So you see here the mapping between orders and executions and trades is not always 1:1. It can be 1:many, and it is usually the case. Now that we have seen the different types of trades, let us understand positions. The terms trades and positions might be used interchangeably, but have no doubt these are very different concepts. To understand this, we will look at it in two parts. First, we'll see the definition of a position for cash and ETDs. This is the quantity per book and product per day. What are books is covered in a different video, and you can find the link below in the comment section. Coming back to this, let us take the simple example where there's a book named ABC. This book tracks equity products. Equity could be of various stocks. Let's take examples of Apple, Facebook, and Google, all tracked as part of the same book. Now there's a one position where the book is tracking Apple stocks, and the current position, there is a position ID which has 20 stocks of Apple. This is day 1. On day 2, the firm buys 50 additional stocks of Apple. This position will now get updated to say ABC, Apple equity, 20, which was there on day 1, plus 50, total 70 stocks as of day 2. You can see the position quantity of that book resulting from the buying and selling, in this example, buying of Apple stocks, has resulted in the position change. Looking at the relationship with trade, one position will be linked to multiple trades. Because on day 1, when this position ID was initially generated, it was tracking one trade, which was buying Apple's 20 stocks. On day 2, when 50 additional stocks were bought, there was a second trade, and that second trade ID also is going to be mapped to this position. So you can see one position gets mapped to multiple trades. Now looking at the definition of positions from the point of view of OTC trades. This is different to what we have seen in cash and exchange traded derivatives. The definition of position is different here. Here, position is defined as the daily valuation of each trade. Here, unlike in cash and exchange traded derivatives, this is going to be a one-to-one mapping with trades. One position is going to be linked to one OTC trade only. This is a key difference, and this is why it is easier to look at the definition of position in these two use cases, separately for cash and ETDs and separately for OTCs. That brings us to the end of this video. If you found this video useful, please like this video and subscribe to my channel. And if you have any questions, please let me know in the comment section below. Thank you so much.